So a couple days ago, UB finally posted the state of balance for season 6, and after reading it, a lot of people were upset at a few things that were written. Specifically, a few lines really got people riled up and brought heat upon the dev team, or fight team if you want to call it that. So today, as usual, I want to talk about the state of balance post and sort of give my thoughts on it. So the first couple of things I want to talk about are the things that got everyone upset. So let's start off with Conqueror. In the post, UB states that Conqueror is still extremely strong in 1v1. The ability to do a forward dodge and shield bash or guard break can impose good pressure across the cast. However, when you look at the rest of the top of the list, they mostly want to counterattack. The suspicion is that the other top characters, especially Centurion, Lawbringer, and Shigoki, would beat Conquerors by countering and not by initiating combat. This is a large reason for the hesitance to nerf Conqueror's shield bash. While it's a difficult pressure tool to deal with, we do need pressuring attacks that force reactions and control the pace of combat. Instead of nerfing these strong tools, we prefer to continue to improve the weak tools. And I agree with nerfing weak tools and leaving strong tools alone, but Conqueror's shield bash is really strong. On PC I can dodge it a little less than half the time. On console it's a complete guessing game, and it's an annoying guessing game. Feel free to buff the weaker parts of Conk, like the rest of his offense, and work on the shield bash. As I talked about in my last video, nerfing Conqueror's shield bash would leave him in a tough spot if they don't buff his other options, because without it, all Conk has is some light attacks, a bunch of really good defensive options, and that would just make him a turtle. Now, when they bring up Centurion, Shigoki, and Lawbringer, they understand that what they said was sort of being taken out of context and understand that they're not good heroes. I think people would have taken this section better if they didn't include the words top characters and Lawbringer, Shigoki, and Centurion in the same sentence. UB replied to the negative feedback and really hammered in that they are aware that these heroes aren't that great. And on the point of needing pressuring attacks that force reactions, I agree with that, but I think Shield Bash could still force reactions without the variable timing. Next up is Lawbringer's duel section. So it reads, in this dual win rate dataset, Lawbringer is placed at 6th position. In Season 5 we saw Lawbringer at 10th position. Lawbringer appears to be performing above expectations, and at a 51% win rate is above the curve. Since this duel, we know this performance is not due to his bombs or ganking potential, so presumably the high performance is in large part due to the high counterattacking potential. We recognize that Lawbringer's ability to shove on block makes Lawbringer a bigger beneficiary of the switch stance bug than most heroes. We will keep an eye on Lawbringer and see if his position changes after patch 1.27 fixes the switch stance bug, but based on his current performance in 1v1 and 4v4, he's not at the top of our priority list. So we all remember the guard stance bug, the bug that stayed in the game for way too long and gave static guard heroes an advantage over assassins because it removed the 100 millisecond delay between switching guards. It helped Lawbringer, sure, but it doesn't fix his offense. In this post, UB talks about wanting to shift the meta to be more offensive, and I respect the effort, but what Lawbringer really needs is something to start his offense. He's got good parry punishes and all, and shove on block works, although I'd rather it be replaced with something else, but he just doesn't have an offense. We've made it really well known by now. Now, when they say he's not at the top of the priority list, I really hope they mean he's not the number one priority. I hope that Lawbringer is towards the top of their priority list, although I do believe that Shigoki is worse off right now and should be the next one to be worked on. Now, the thing that bothers me is that while talking about Peacekeeper, they mentioned that Peacekeeper may have gotten nerfed a little too hard, and that she's a hero they'll be keeping the closest eye on. This may be the Season 6 balance post and we're going into Season 8, but nothing's really happened since then, and I think Peacekeeper is a pretty decent hero. She's not too weak, she's not too strong, she's got decent options. Her damage may be a little low, but that could be easily fixed, and I mean, she just got reworked. I can name 6 or 7 heroes that should be watched more closely, and if they have been watching the weaker heroes, then we should have seen something by now. UB also mentions that the state of balance posts aren't the only thing that matters, you know, the win matrix and all that. They also pay attention to what we say on Reddit or YouTube and consult tournament players and whatnot. So if you guys stumble across this video, if there's one thing I want you guys to do is that you should just take chances on adjusting heroes. I'm sure none of us would mind if you started adjusting weaker heroes more often, because honestly, if you make a mistake, you can always switch it back. You say that you don't only use win rates and whatnot, but you haven't really shown us too much of anything. Some of these problems are agreed upon by a majority of people. Why are you keeping a keen eye on PK when Shigoki players haven't been able to use their main for the past couple of seasons? Our Amusha players have to hope that their opponents can't block, which is a shame because I really like our Amusha. Centurion has to rely on his defense to win. Lawbringer has to rely on his defense to win. I mean, there are problems that most of us agree on, and it would be great if we got some real feedback on those heroes rather than watching PK. When I say that the devs need a rework, I'm saying that they just need to change the way they're handling the game. I appreciate the effects, I appreciate the emotes and executions and the mythic outfits, elite outfits, events, and all the other stuff that they add. What I don't appreciate is that you guys move unbelievably slow when it comes to addressing our issues. The most recent thing I can think of right now is the guard switch bug. It took way too long to fix a problem that affected 2/3 of the cast. Sometimes you guys move fast. Whenever there's a bunch of pushback from the community, you respond and sometimes fix the issue, like with the voices or when you guys were going to remove some of the content from the game. But when it comes to the game itself, the actual fighting, it's as though you guys are too hesitant to really do anything. And when you release a patch or buff or nerf a hero, or in some cases rework a hero or make a statement, it feels like it wasn't completely thought through, or as though you didn't listen. And I think that's why so many people accuse you guys of not even playing your own game. The now infamous learn how to play Lawbringer comment is one example. Say you're not looking at the big data that we all joke about, and you sat down and played Lawbringer against someone who has pretty good knowledge of the game. You see that Lawbringer legitimately doesn't have an opener and can't really do anything. It seems as though you guys are really just looking at data. The data says he's an average hero. It says that he has a good win rate in both duels and fours, so he must be in a good spot. Anyone complaining must just be doing something wrong. When most Lawbringer mains know that's just not the case, you don't even have to be a Lawbringer main to see that. Now, one thing a lot of you wanted me to talk about in this video is light spam, specifically Orochi's. So in short, Yubi says that light spam isn't a big deal to better players, and learning to block against it is just a skill that people should learn. Now, Orochi's second light attack is 400 milliseconds, and let me tell you this honestly, straight from my heart, if it's delayed, you can't react to it on PC or console. It doesn't matter if I'm playing with 30 frames, 60 frames, or 150 frames. When it's delayed, I'm going to get hit. You can definitely block it, but you're predicting it, you're not reacting to it, it's just too fast, and Yubi wants it to be that way. It's extremely annoying to get hit by, but that's just the attack. Now, his opening light, the 500 millisecond one, is entirely reactable in any situation. You can see it, and you can block it. On PC, I do parry a lot more consistently, and it's not because of the speed of the attack, it's just that it's so much more smooth and you can see the attack coming at you. And after playing through the choppiness that console provides, it's just easier to deal with. I actually don't think light spam should be nerfed or anything. I do think it's really annoying when you get hit multiple times in a row to someone just throwing out attacks, and you're going to get hit because the game's laggy, but in good conditions, 500 millisecond attacks aren't that bad. 400 millisecond attacks, on the other hand, are a different story. I understand why they're in the game, but they are a pain to deal with. But say they nerf Orochi's chain light attacks back to 500 milliseconds. We'd be right back to where we were before his rework, and I don't think that's the best idea. As for the win matrix itself, I think it just shows that using the top 2.5% of players isn't the best idea. It definitely needs to be narrowed down. Yubi did state that they plan on using data from top players in ranked duel instead, which is a much better idea because there's no way that Centurion is the third best duelist, there's no way that Lawbringer is the sixth best, and there's no way that Shigoki should be 7th, let alone even be in the top 10. When Berserker is 12th on this list, and I think that Berserker is easily one of the best heroes in the game, especially in duels. If there's anything I want any dev to get from this video, it's that you guys shouldn't be afraid to take risks on balancing more often. I think we all know that there will be some negative outcomes from certain patches, but again, these can always be fixed, and I'm not sure that many of us would even mind at this point, especially if you're super clear about what you're doing and why. Like, say for some reason you gave Raider's Stunning Tap the undodgeable property after soft feinting the zone. You go to the UB forums and write it and tell us your reasoning, like, we gave it the undodgeable property so that a side dodge wouldn't beat out the zone and Stunning Tap. We feel Raider's zone is very important to his kit and feel that 2 of his options shouldn't be beaten by dodging or something like that. If everyone is cool with it, keep it. If there's an overwhelming amount of backlash and Raider's win percentage jumps to 60%, then scrap it. You could even test things out on PC first, or use the player test server to try things out. Again, I don't think anyone would really care as long as we see that you're doing something. As I've said, the game gets really stale when nothing changes, and if we at least saw that you're attempting to change a hero, or heard from you about when we should expect to see something, we wouldn't be so upset. What you wrote at the end of your State of Balance follow-up is a step in the right direction. You told us that you're working on a big issue, dodge roll. You're currently working on the Wulin heroes, and you plan on trying to make offense as a whole a bit more viable. The last thing you need to do is tell us when we'll see the results, or an estimate. Will we see these changes at the start of Season 8, halfway through the season, or the beginning of Season 9? There's so much promise in For Honor. Everyone who's still here wants to see the game do well, and there's not much competition right now. There aren't too many games that people want to play, but they're coming, and they're coming right around the same time that Marching Fire releases. And if things don't start changing, if the game keeps feeling stale, what's stopping anyone from moving on? Anyways, that's all I got for this video. I'm sorry if it seemed a little rambly, but it's something I wanted to talk about for the past couple of days. But now I really want to hear from you guys. Tell me how you feel about the State of Balance, or just the game's pacing in general. Are you fine with how the game's moving along, or are you like me and just think that things are moving a little too slowly? And as always, if you agree with me or just like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.